8. The Assignment. I awoke feeling groggy. I glanced over at the clock. The time couldn't be right. I sat up. Joseph was standing by the doorway. He was chewing on an apple. He smiled. He seemed so patient and so calm. I think he was laughing. "How are you feeling, champ?" I leapt out of bed and dressed. "Relax," I thought I heard him say as he chewed. Joseph didn't move, he was just standing there. I stopped and just glanced at him, but he kept chewing on his apple. I wanted him to say something, anything else. Instead, I rushed through the hunter quarters. The other cadets just glanced over at me. Some were smirking, others were just shaking their heads as I took a vehicle toward the tarmac. The officers by the private plane wouldn't let me on. "You haven't had clearance," they said. "What do you mean? I have an assignment. I need to get on that plane." "Not this one, sir. Haven't got clearance to allow anyone on board." I pushed my way from them and rushed towards the tarmac. I was already running late. "Hey, you need clearance!" My interactions with Becky had caused my delay. Becky reported soldiers' conditions to those at sickbay. No hunter was allowed clearance until after a quick medical evaluation. I didn't have time for that. I dropped on the seat inside the plane. I would have no choice but to return and get a medical evaluation, and it would delay things. Dr. Nicholson would not be pleased. My phone buzzed. I picked it up. Joseph's voice filled the cabinet of the plane interior. "You're clear to go," Joseph said. How had he convinced Dr. Nicholson to release me? "I guess I shouldn't have raised my voice to Becky," I said, sitting in the luxury white seats of the private plane. "You think?" Joseph mocked. "I personally think she has a mean streak," Joseph chuckled. "I think Dr. Nicholson created her specially to torture the soldiers since there's nothing but male cadets in the facility." "Seriously?" I asked. "Maybe Becky's a secret desire to have a daughter." He laughed. "Aside from the jokes, you're cleared. I'll see you there." Joseph would arrive later and would transfer to the settled location. Joseph mostly handled the background of where we needed to play the part of someone else. I proceeded to Houston, Texas. It was a 2.5-hour flight from the academy by private jet, which was far quicker than any commercial flight. The plane landed without a hitch. I had no bags, so I continued into the parking lot where a black SUV with 2 men in black suits awaited me. They were a pickup service set up by the company. It was a long drive from the airport to the main location, where I took refuge in the rental house on the upper side of the Heights, a quiet neighborhood filled with lawyers and doctors. It was a nice area with culture where houses were valued well into the hundreds of thousands. Dr. Nicholson had secured a 2-story old Victorian house valued at $500,000. It was a safe house often used by other ADA agents when on assignment. I was to report there, retrieve my assignment, and settle in. I was left on the side of the street by the men after they handed me an envelope. I would explore the home at my leisure. It was a very beautiful 2-story large white Victorian house with an old antique white fence surrounding it. The house was empty this evening, but it wouldn't be for long. Agents came at different hours, but not too many at a time, so as not to arouse suspicion. Tonight it would be me, and tomorrow it would be another. It was late when I climbed up the porch steps. The porch light, as always with these safe houses, was lit. I used the key I found inside the envelope. It opened the large metal box, which inside revealed a computer panel that requested an entry code and an iris recognition scanner. I entered, hearing my steps on the hard wooden floor echo throughout the stunning interior. The entrance was welcoming, with a beautiful large mirror on mustard walls, decorated in crown molding. A vase with decorative plants sat upon a lovely mahogany table. The kitchen was modern and seemed freshly renovated, and the living room was full of white leather, mahogany tables, decorative plants and vases, and even a grand piano at the far end. The large windows were covered in white flowing curtains that draped down upon the shiny, clean wooden floors. The second floor stairs were just a few steps away from the entrance. leading up into a twisted staircase above where a beautiful chandelier hung like crystal daggers. The wood in the house was beautifully polished. The entire place was empty, yet well kept. The place looked frozen in time. Details still appeared to have been part of the house when it was freshly built, and yet there were parts added for modern times, like the kitchen. The appliances were all stainless steel, with an added island in the center. Pots and pans hung above the centerpiece, with a bowl of seemingly real decor fruit sitting on the counter. Dropping the plastic apple back into the bowl, I made my way up to the second floor and entered the hall. The floors on the second floor were lovely, with decorative hardwood. The walls were a pastel green. And there were framed photographs of boats used to decorate the long extended hallway. Pictures displayed fishing boats, old boats, abandoned boats, and even World War II military boats. The house had 5 bedrooms. I headed to one at the end. Upon opening the door, I found myself in a large bedroom. White curtains draped the window, and there was a large bed at the far end, decorated in satin red sheets and encompassed by mahogany bedposts. A stained brown cherry desk sat next to the bed. On the desk sat a black leather briefcase. Inside was a laptop, with the screen lit and ready to use. There was nothing much in the room. A few antique rugs under the bed covered the beautiful glossy floors. There were 2 doors, one leading to the closet and the other leading to the bathroom. On the walls, there were a few framed photographs like the ones on the hallway walls, but these were of men in uniform. Nazi uniforms. Whose sick idea for decoration was this? I came over to the desk and peered at the briefcase, and at the computer screen. The words ADA scrawled in an access window sat facing me as I sat down on the black cushion of the seat in front of the desk. After logging in, another screen appeared. The face of Dr. Nicholson on the video chat popped open. On the side of the screen, a few files appeared. Joseph had briefed me about the sighting of a possible alien product. "I see you have arrived well," Dr. Nicholson began. "Ready and alert, sir. I'm going to assume that Joseph has briefed you on the importance of this assignment?" Dr. Nicholson asked. His face was flawless peaches and cream smooth, pale and slightly pink. His eyes were a clear pastel blue, light like the white of his suit. "Yes, sir." I placed my hands on the table and sat still, awaiting his command. When he didn't speak, I continued. "Joseph has informed me of the possibility of an alien product discovery." "Correct. We detected a possible sighting of the ADA escapee, but we are unable to confirm its exact whereabouts at the present time." A file opened alongside the image of Dr. Nicholson. The image was a school by the name of Milton High. I sped-read the small bio beneath, well aware Dr. Nicholson would give me further instruction regarding our escapee, if required. "It moves quickly. The devices confirmed its last sighting before they were no longer responsive, which means whatever or whomever destroyed the metal insect indicators knows what they are. As you are aware, the devices can only be destroyed by a powerful force. Its capability to reconstruct its body into its original form makes it an effective instrument," he informed me. "The only intel we've received is the sighting at this local school." Another image appeared. "This is the principal of Milton High, Dr. Neil Edwards," Dr. Nicholson said. "As of yesterday, he is deceased, victim of a heart attack, according to the authorities. A man by the name of Michael McClellan has been temporarily appointed by the school district as his substitute. They were good friends." A few files appeared alongside Neil Edwards. The file of Michael McClellan, the file of J. Claypool, the file of R. Vasquez, the file of Alice Wallace, all pictured in their school photographs. 2 additional files of the security detail the school offered appeared. They looked like normal people, employees at the school. "This is the staff," Dr. Nicholson informed. "Study them, learn everything about them." "Yes, sir. You will assume the identity of a student named Christian Muller." Christian, I thought. That familiar name again of another cadet. Joseph will accompany you on this mission. Hadn't he always, I thought, but I felt he meant something entirely different. Sir Joseph? Does he have a role? I don't necessarily need a guardian for a school walkthrough, I interrupted. It was the first time I had done so in a long time, which seemed to irritate Dr. Nicholson. I could tell by the grimace on his face. Joseph has a role, not only as your guardian, but as Dr. Neil Edwards' permanent replacement. You will accompany him. He will presume the name of Dr. Joseph Mueller. He is your uncle. Uncle? I repeated, surprised by my voice. This advantage will allow you to access the office personnel as well as the inner goings-on within the school environment. Joseph is your cover. The rest is up to you. That made far more sense than I thought. I wasn't there to assist him. He was there to assist me as my cover. He would probably be my excuse among the personnel. I would cover the student body, and Joseph would cover the faculty as acting principal. All the documents that you will require are in the yellow envelope inside the desk's top drawer. I opened the drawer, and the envelope was there where he said it was. Inside were all the documents: driver's license, birth certificate, and social identifications needed to become Christian Mueller. The hard part of getting registered for the school had been taken care of by the company. Joseph has received his assignment details. I want you to accompany him when he introduces himself to the staff. Get a feel of the place, and the school administrators. Make a good impression. I must have given him an unsettling look because he followed up with, Is there a part of your assignment that confuses you, John? Make a good impression on who, sir? He smiled, but didn't answer my question. Honestly, I wasn't expecting him to. Remember, the alien product is not so easily fooled. Be prepared for anything. Detect, engage, retrieve, and most importantly, find the source. I repeated the instructions of previous missions. This order had been drilled into me since the beginning. He was always looking for the source. Set the markers. If the source is detected, the devices will confirm its presence. Yes, sir. I know the procedure and how the devices work. He gave me a stern look. Very good, then. He wrinkled a slim lip back. Do you have any further questions in regard to your assignment? No, sir, I answered. Good. Now, in the envelope you will also find your new housing location. I have secured a new rental for you and Joseph in the fashionable River Oaks area, close to the target destination. You'll find the details inside. Isn't that a little too flashy, sir, for the salary of a mere principal? I volunteered. He grinned. Very good, John, but no. Your uncle comes from a wealthy family. The details are all in the envelope. Memorize your family history. You know the procedures. He firmly reminded. Of course, sir. Forgive me. I took the documents out again. Inside, there was a small envelope with a pair of house keys and a lease for the rental with my required ID cards identifying me as a student at Milton High. The company had prepared everything. I only had to play the role. Under the bed, you will also find a drawer with a few devices that may be of some use in the retrieval of the alien product. Don't hesitate to use them. Visibly, under the bed, there was a compartment. Opening it, however, required a combination to unlock the electrical key panel. One last thing, John. In regard to your previous question, I blinked. I'd almost forgotten the question, thinking he wouldn't answer my silly remark on who I was to impress. I furrowed my brow. My awkward, puzzled gaze delighted him. He was smiling on the other end of the screen. It seems that the late Dr. Neil Edwards had one living relative. One that has just now come onto our radar. I wondered why this was relevant. A granddaughter by the name of Claudia Belle. It might be of interest to get to know her. She might widen the social network from another angle. She might be your inside connection. Is it your wish for me to interact with her, sir? He smiled. Yes. Interact. Get to know her. She might offer some information. Waste no time if she offers none. This part of the assignment must be handled discreet, and a detail not to be discussed with your guardian. He has his own orders. I nodded. It wasn't the first time he had said those same words to me. Report back to me once you and your guardian have settled into your roles. As always, you know the procedure. Maintain radio silence until you've completed your mission. His image vanished from the screen. I sat there staring at the flashing cursor and my reflection on the semi-black monitor. I was used to his quick briefings. It was a repeat of all my previous missions, except the principal was deceased. In my prior roles, I had always played the role of a lone student, planted the devices as instructed, and proceeded as the readings deemed fit. The last mission ended quickly with no leads to the source of energy. Once I had informed him of the non-existence of alien forms and lack of discovery of a source by any of our devices, he pulled me off the mission. He was only interested in obtaining the source, whatever that was. I often wondered what the source was. I suspected another alien life form, but my place was not to question the reasons or even ask what they were after. I had one job, as Joseph had always said. We are sent to engage, capture, and secure. After that, it's all up to the company. An email came in as I sat there. The email was from Dr. Nicholson, regarding Dr. Neil Edwards' granddaughter, Claudia Belle. I moved the cursor to open the email. I picked up the documents again, glaring at the picture ID I had taken and used before on various assignments. It was the same face I had seen on countless other forms of ID, the bright green eyes of a youthful man with ash-brown locks of hair. I had been an athlete on my last assignment, a football star, ran track in the last school, and was even on the championship basketball team. Always bearing a different name, a different identity in a different school. I think I might have graduated at least 4 times, attended prom 4 times, and won 5 school championships. My exit strategies had always been different. One had me moving to New York. Another, my father was leaving the country to start a new job. The last one was my parents had been divorced and I would go live with my father. Joseph had been my uncle in almost all scenarios, but never once had he been my father. He just didn't look the part. He was like a big kid himself, more of an uncle type. My imaginary father had always been on paper or a call conducted by the company. This time, my name was Christian Mueller. Kind of catchy, I would agree. I tapped a few keystrokes and studied on my family history. I had a lot of work to catch up on. Sometimes learning had to be done in a short amount of time, but it was all part of the training. A hunter is always on his feet. He must adapt. Joseph had repeated on multiple occasions when drilling me on assignments. What's your name? Alex Baxter. Where are you from? Portland. Who are your parents? Amanda Baxter and Bruce Baxter. I shook my head. What is your address? 2345, I froze, struggling to recall the street name. Bloomingdale Ave. He huffed. Again. I'm Alex Baxter. My parents are Amanda Baxter and Bruce Baxter. After a few minutes it stuck, and I no longer needed to be told. Luckily for Joseph, I picked up on everything quickly. It was one thing he loved about me and often told me. He knew my stats. I'd majored in many languages. It was just something about me. I could learn things fairly quickly if I concentrated and focused. I read on my family history. According to my profile, my parents were very wealthy. My family was of German descent. My uncle, who Joseph had to pretend to be, was a principal. He was the youngest of 2 sons, had been adopted, and was currently single. That made sense, since Joseph was of Mexican descent and a little hard to pass for German. My father was one Bryce John Mueller. I wrinkled my lip. He was a top surgeon in the field of neurosurgery. My mother, Martha Mueller, had been deceased for 2 years now, died of cancer. She had been a surgeon too. It was how my father had met her. It was just my uncle, my father, and me. I lived with my uncle and father in their River Oaks property, having recently moved in with father after uncle was transferred. Father was mostly absent, so we never saw him, and one of the reasons I lived with my uncle mostly. That was my story. He traveled a lot, which accounted for his absence. He was a busy man. After running through family history and fake family photos designed to show the appearance of family, I clicked on the pictures of each individual school staff member and read each bio briefly. Joseph and I were to meet Michael McClellan tomorrow, so I read up on him first. He was a single, simple, boring man with white-peppered hair and dark eyebrows. Below the summarized information, several links open to references, clippings of his major charity work and his awards. He was dedicated. I yawned. Next was Dr. Neil Edwards, described as a loyal and caring educator. I read down until I came to a link of references below. I clicked on the news references under the family. I read, Dr. Neil Edwards, respected educator and community hero, was awarded and honored at a large ceremony for his great achievements. I continued reading down past the interview with Dr. Edwards about his great accomplishments. The story continued, regarding Dr. Edwards' funeral arrangements and those in attendance. The number reached over 200. Apparently, he was well loved. He had donated to charity, but most of his assets were left to his only surviving heir. I blinked at the email Dr. Nicholson had sent me of Claudia Belle, still open on my screen. I clicked on the file within the email and I read on. Claudia Belle is the only child of Nicholas and Isabella Belle. She attended Portland High School and excelled in English, yet her favorite subject is art. Her hobbies include painting, drawing, and reading. Her favorite artists are Ralph Steadman, Jason Shaw Alexander. Favorite writers include Anne Rice and Stephen King. Her favorite color is red. Favorite actor, Johnny Depp. Favorite music, too many artists were listed to narrow. She loves daisies and roses. Seemed like the bio of every 16 or 17-year-old teenager. Sigh. Another yawn escaped me. The bio continued with a briefing on Claudia's mother. Claudia's maternal grandmother died in childbirth, giving birth to fraternal twins, Isabella and Christopher, who were later put up for adoption. Their biological father was unknown. The company records indicate Christopher, Claudia's uncle, joined the army at the tender age of 18, straight out of high school, and then was shipped to Iraq when the war started. He was in the front lines when it all came down. The company has little information regarding his whereabouts after enlistment. He's presumed to be dead. There were brief school records of Christopher, and the adopted family's surname was noted as Vega. The few photographs of Christopher that the company had were of high school portraits. A photo of Christopher showed him as a skinny kid with very dark hair and piercing dark eyes. Another was of Christopher in his military uniform. He was a grown, muscular man with facial hair and a large cigar hanging from his mouth. He was posing with an assault rifle. It appeared he had been serving in the military for a long time, and it was something that he apparently loved. I read on. There was more regarding her father. Nicholas Belle was a highly respected man and CEO of a large financial firm. Not a lot is known of Mr. Belle or his business dealings, only that he worked with a large number of respected corporations. None were listed, though. Below that, there was a small news clipping. Family tragedy. Mr. Nicholas Belle, a CEO and businessman for a large financial firm, and his wife, Isabella Belle, perished while heading to the airport during the early morning hours. It appears Mr. Belle lost control of the car and was hit by a passing truck. The two were killed on impact. Nothing about Claudia Belle. Obviously, she wasn't in the vehicle. I shook my head, sad all around. I logged off and rose from the seat to stretch, walked over to the window and gazed out into the quiet night. It was now midnight. The bed was looking very appealing. Kneeling near the bed and pulling out the trundle from under, a glass case with an electrical key panel stared back at me. I typed in the access code, and the panel beeped and popped out like an airlock release. The glass shifted and allowed access to the drawer's contents. I was only interested in a few devices. A watch and a few metal discs that were the size of smoke detectors. To my left, I found the Desert Eagle secured into a section of the drawer. Only I could access the control panel. I punched in the code and took it along with everything else. Once I had these, the drawer pulled back and locked. I set the items on the table near the laptop. The watch resembled an ordinary watch to the untrained eye, but I knew what was really in the clear case and what the flashing lights on the body could do. It looked fancy. I could easily turn the head of the watch to change the patterns of the frequency. It could be a mind scrambler or a mind manipulator. It interfered with brain waves to keep thoughts from being read. It wasn't just waves, many energies could be detected. It had a variety of frequencies and capabilities. I could program it to distort or project memories or thoughts I wanted to forecast. The company came up with many devices to stay ahead of the oddities, Minder Sifter and Mind Benders. I was required to take it everywhere with me. After going over the necessities of the job, I walked to the closet in the room. Inside, there was a plastic bag that held the outfit I would need for my first day. Beneath the bag, a pair of dressy half-calf boots sat. "Thanks, Joseph," I said, knowing he was responsible for making sure I had the outfit that would make me feel most comfortable. The top drawer in the dresser had undergarments and a small plastic bag with hair products. I grinned. Had to hand it to Joseph, who always wanted me to put that goo in my hair. The bed beckoned me. I walked over and dropped onto it, looking up at the ceiling. I thought of the schools, desks, and teachers. Once again, this would be my norm, my new reality. I think I liked it a little more than I liked the facilities in the military bunkers at the academy. My eyes closed, and sleep found me immediately.